Hey y'all, it's Woody Overton, the host of Real Life, Real Crime, the podcast, and you're listening to Local Leaders, the podcast.
Hey, and welcome back to another edition of Local Leaders of the Podcast. This is episode 141, and the guy sitting across from me, pretty well-known guy in this area, Sheriff Jason Ard, and today we're going to talk Christmas Crusade. First of all, welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me. It's good to be here.
You have been active in the Christmas Crusade for quite a while.
Yes.
And it existed even before you were sheriff.
It has.
Tell us a little bit about the history.
So it started back in the 87, actually under Sheriff Odom Graves. His son, Woodard Graves, who became sheriff, actually continued the program. It's always been known as the Christmas Crusade. And then when I took over in 2012, I continued the program as well. As a young deputy, I learned about the program. It was great. You used to going to these homes and you're not bringing good news, obviously, right? I'm not knocking on the door saying, hey, you the next winner of the public school clearinghouse.
Bunch of balloons, that big man, the whole deal.
It's just unfortunately different. We have a job to do and it's not always fun, but it's our job. Yeah. And then learning about this Christmas Crusade as I come up, this is an opportunity to, that kid see me take his dad to jail. Yeah. I don't want to be that guy. Yeah. Because, I have a job to do, but I really am a good guy. Yeah. And so to be able to go back and deliver the toys to that same house. Yeah. And then you see those eyes light up a little bit and how you doing, high five. And so that's what I can remember coming up. And then I was moved to the training facility. The people at the training facility is where North Pole is located. Right. So that actually becomes North Pole. Oh, so that's where a lot of the toys and stuff goes on. Well, my wife, Erica, who was brought on back 15 years, I think she's been here almost 20 years, but Willie brought her on and she worked in the detective's office as secretary and immediately brought her into running this program with his wife, Elaine. And so she's been doing it for years. Yeah. And so I was the guy that actually went to all the Walmart locations, which is funny because then it was only two, Denham and Walker. And you had to open up every morning, set the tents up, make sure it was ready for the deputies when they got there, make sure deputy was there volunteering, and then we would close it up every night. And then you had toy pickups everywhere, so it was just always busy. And so fast forward, 2012, I'm sworn in as sheriff. Absolutely, I'm going to keep this program, right? Yes. The only thing we did to change it a little bit was make it a nonprofit. Yeah. Because I had a lot of businesses that started calling me saying, hey, man, I got this big check. I'm trying to just get a write-off, whatever the case may be. Yeah. Hey, okay, well, they needed to be nonprofit, so we did what we needed to do to make that happen, and it's actually been a blessing since then. 100%. 100%. And so, and this program has grown, the numbers have grown, we can get into that. It's just, I remember when it started, I knew it was something that needed to be carried on, and hopefully one day it will always be here. There's no doubt it'll always be here because it's such a great opportunity to give back to the community. Yeah, it really is. And I say it a lot on this show, but leaders lead and they give back. That's really what it's all about. And it took me a while to figure that out, Sheriff Orr. Yeah. I was about 40 years old when I figured out that it's not all about being number one sometimes. Sometimes it's about making someone else number one. And number 10 always works as long as the 9 in front of you know what they're doing. Yes. Ooh, I like that. There's another quote for the chalkboard. Love it. Very good point. Now, you've lived in LP a while, wouldn't you say? I grew up here. I've been here my whole life. I played ball at Walker. Yeah. Graduated from Walker High School. My wife's from Live Oak. That's where she graduated from, so that's a big, rival with me and her when Walker. Oh, I can imagine. And Live Oak play, but my kids went to school here, and my parents have always been from here, and so lifelong resident of Livingston Parish.
Well, for those of us that have lived here, pretty much lifelong, we've seen a massive population growth during that time.
We have.
Now, not only have you lived in LP your entire life, but you've also had an entire lifetime of law enforcement experience. I'm talking back to the Explorer days.
Yes.
At Denham Springs Police Department, right?
Yes, you did your research.
I did. Oh, man, I love to research.
15 years old, I was introduced to law enforcement at Denham Springs Police Department. I hate to even say this, but I'm going to go on and give them a shout out because the two deputies, there was actually three of them, city officers I can remember, was Shannon Walmack, who's now the chief.
Yes.
Let's tell you age. Walmack. I was only, 16, 17 years old. Shannon was a reserve deputy at the time, I believe. Patrick Knabb, who just recently retired. He's actually came to work for me. Those guys were people I kind of looked up to, and they drew me into law enforcement. And there's a couple other names. I remember Joe Mack being there. Yes. I was just a little peon. They didn't know who I was. But I was just so attracted to law enforcement. And to fast forward, 1993, a buddy of mine called, and he said, hey, man, the detention center, Parish Jail is hiring. You should go out, put an application in. So I did. I walked down and knocked on the door and opened up the door, and Mr. Odom Graves was sitting there, and I told him who I was and wanted a job. And so he said, well, we're looking for somebody. He put me to work. And I remember my dad coming to see me that night because Mr. Odom had called him and said, son, why didn't you tell me he was going to see the sheriff? I said, well, I didn't know. I just wouldn't seen him. I wanted a job. And so that kind of started my career. I started into jail and then worked my way up through ranks my entire career. So that was in 1993. And so I've been here for a long time. Like I said, worked in the detention center, worked on the streets, was a supervisor at age 25, and went from there to detectives for a little while. Then he moved me to the training center. And during in between the supervision and the detectives, when we created our SWAT team for the first time. And that actually, if you remember back then, they had a lot of shootings going on in Baton Rouge with some of the narcotic officers. BRPD actually lost somebody. And so we started revamping here because we are a bedroom community. We do sit on the side of Baton Rouge, but we have problems here too.
Yeah, sure.
And so that's where that kind of started. So I was at detention center for up until right after Katrina. Katrina was a big deal for all of us. That's the first time law enforcement guys realized that we are first responders. We can do what firefighters do. Firefighters can do what we do if we have to have them. Yeah. And what I mean by that, chainsaws. Shovels, whatever it takes, because when you in a time of need like that, it don't matter who you are. Pick the chainsaw up and let's get this road clear. Let's do whatever we can. And Katrina, I can remember, was when we started getting to be a little closer to our firefighters. And then grew from there. And Gustav was I remember Gustav, it was the first time I actually was able to be in an administration spot and help. That was in 2006. I got promoted to chief operations. Gustav hit in 2008, and I remember that very well. We actually had 600 first responders from across the United States living in our new detention center that had not yet housed inmates. We were just fixing to move them in when Gustav hit. So we were able to house them, and so fast forward again, Sheriff Graves and I met, and he had told me he was retiring and thought I'd be a great guy to lead the office, which it was kind of funny because when he told me that, I was like, me? I don't know if I'm that guy. But here I am. It was the greatest opportunity that was ever presented to me. All these the times that I promoted was not something you go after. It's an opportunity you're given. And you take that opportunity and run with it. Yeah. And I've always said, you don't know what kind of leader you are until you get that opportunity to lead. Yeah. And it's so true. And 100%. So all my flaws, all my nervousness, and people don't know this about me. Some of them may, but the only reason the sheriff really wanted me to go to the training center, I was very shy. I didn't want to speak in front of nobody. Yeah. And I know he did that to help me. Yeah. And it really did help me. It helped me to learn how to speak in public, get up in front of people. And this guy used to get like nervous, like upset, go to the bathroom. It was bad. A lot of people don't know that. I was just a very shy kid.
I couldn't imagine.
Yeah, I was just a shy kid. And but you overcome that, and because you given opportunities, and you either can take that opportunity and run with it, although it might not be in your plan.
Yeah.
My plan was just be a detective. Let me put bad guys in jail. Let me do my investigations. And my plan was varied a little bit because an opportunity presented, and you kind of start looking at it. So you know what do I have to lose?
Yeah.
And
yeah.
I'm so glad I took that route, and here I am today.
I'm glad you took that route too.
Well, thank you.
But I'll tell you this, what's intriguing about you on that subject is, and one of the reasons I think you do lead so well is you've done every job from the bottom up. So any subordinates you have, guys underneath you, they look at that and they know that you've been there and done that, no matter what job it is. I mean, you started off, it's amazing your life and how young you were when you started. You knew your whole life this is what you wanted.
I've always heard, you're young. Matter of fact, for the first 2 terms, I was the youngest sitting sheriff in Louisiana.
Wow.
So I actually had lunch with a Sheriff Saunier over in Terrebonne yesterday, and we were talking about our age. He's a first-year sheriff. I said, well, you're older than me. I've been sheriff. I'm going my 3rd term. And he says, well, I'm 55. I was like, oh, well, I'm 49. I guess I'm still young. So I do forget about my age. I don't really pay attention to that. You got to stay in shape, stay focused, and just do your job.
Well, you're doing a great job there. And it's hard to beat experience in any job, but especially in that job.
Yes, sir.
Really hard to beat, in my opinion. You have seen a massive increase in population over that time. What maybe 1 year would have been a great donation total, now probably wouldn't scratch the surface, right?
Correct. Well, Hurricane Katrina, I remember the population, we feel like it went up on like 30 to 50,000 people, if you remember, because we had a lot of people from St. Bernard move in here.
Yes.
And all these homes that were for sale just were bought overnight because they lost everything in Katrina.
Yeah.
So that was a big turning point for us with the Crusade. I remember that.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it's amazing what it does to your numbers, because the more population you have, the more need, period.
Correct.
Those percentages probably don't change a whole lot of how many, as a percentage of population are in need. It just, when it grows, both of those numbers grow. So how many children or families do you service now with these toys on average?
So to go back to 2016, 2016, we averaged around 1,200 kids right before 2016, and just over 400 families.
Yeah.
So 2016 we thought was going to be a huge year, right? Big flood. What we found out was 2016 was not a huge year. A lot of it was because people moved away from here while they were rebuilding their homes.
Right.
So they took residency somewhere else. And that's the only thing we can figure out because it just went down. But since then, we've seen an increase each year up till now. In 2020, last year we had just over 700 families, or right under 700 families, and over 1,500 kids.
Wow.
And that, so it was, over 1,200, over 1,300, over 1,400, and we had 15.
Yeah.
So we know that this year is going to be 16 to 1,800 is what we feel like, because the population's growing. We're back on our feet from 2016. Although we had a huge disaster, people didn't move away.
Right.
We was very lucky. As much destruction that was done in the southeast side of our parish, really all over the parish.
Yeah.
It's still growing, and the population's still growing. So as it grows, the need grows.
Yeah, 100%. And another benefit of this program, in my opinion, and I get way outside the box of my thinking sometimes, but I look at the direct effect it may have even in lowering the crime rate a little bit. Maybe it'll lower some thefts or something like that, because when people get under pressure, that's when they typically commit crimes. And if someone feels some pressure, I got to get gifts for my kids or whatever, maybe they're more apt to go to a Walmart or something and try to slide something in their pocket.
I think, a desperate man trying to do for his family. I'm sure that, we see that.
Yeah.
We also know that criminals just look for opportunities.
Right.
I look at it as this: these deputies, we have to be involved in our community. And this goes back to when I very first started law enforcement. I've heard this phrase on and on and on, and you're going to continue to hear it. We're only as good as the information we receive. Yes. And you don't receive information unless your community trusts you. And you have to maintain that trust. These programs do so much for these deputies. They let them know that the community does trust them, because you're not only giving back, but they see the need, the deputies do.
Yeah.
And though they may have been seen in a bad light the night before, the next day they see in a good way, and they're filling a need. And these moms and dads and these grandmas and grandpas, they and even these kids, this guy's not a bad guy. He's just doing his job.
Right.
And look, we may not agree on things, we may disagree, but we always have to do our job.
Yeah.
And so this program does reach out to those, and it does maybe keep a man from going and creating him more problems by stealing something he needs to be able to provide his family for Christmas.
Yeah.
We can do that. Let us work with you. We'll help your family. That's what this program's about. So we're able to do that. We're able to provide that. And so what you're saying, I do believe, yes, it does play a role in it. For sure.
Yeah. Every year, it just seems like this program gets bigger. So y'all really can't step on the brakes. It seems like every year you're doing a little more promoting on it than the year before, and so important to what you're doing.
So to let everybody know, this program is not a program that starts right after Thanksgiving. This is a year-round program. My wife Erica, actually, she has to be up to date on everything. I don't have both of my kids are in college, so I don't know what a little 7-year-old girl wants for Christmas.
Yeah,
I don't know what a 10-year-old boy wants for Christmas. Right? I just don't know. But we have to know. We have to know that kid that we bring in toys to has the exact same action figure that his neighbor's kid has. We want to make sure they have a very Merry Christmas. So that has research has to be done. We have to know our deputies. Hey, what's your kid want this year? Like what's popular? So that goes into it. She starts ordering toys usually she starts doing it in September, October, but because of what's going on in our country, we just don't even that's a whole nother subject.
Oh Lord,
and,
that's a podcast for another day.
And you can't find anything, so she got a little nervous and doing her due diligence, make sure that hey, let's go back and maybe start in August.
Yes.
To make sure we're going to have our toys, to have the things we need. So that all moves up to the actual dates, which is going to be the Saturday after Thanksgiving.
Yeah.
That is the day that you'll start seeing the deputies at all 3 Walmart locations and Bass Pro. Yeah. And then the Monday following that, and is actually, which I got it wrote down here, which is November 29th is when we actually start taking applications. Yeah. Which is a huge progress as well. That actually starts, and that's a 2-week progress, a 2-week deal that you have to ask, they have to bring in proof of residency. Because remember, we only take care of Livingston Parish kids.
Right.
That's what this program is designed for. I would love to take care of the whole country.
Oh, sure.
But, this is what it's designed for. This is where we focus. So we start then. We have the deputies collecting toys. We have the people coming in to sign up. They got to prove their residency. They got to prove their income. They got to prove that these kids are there by showing Social Securities for each person in the house, income for each person in the house. So it's a lot of stuff that goes into this program.
Bring up a good point with the work that your wife, Erica, does. Mm-hmm. I can tell you I've got a son at LSU. I got 2 twin girls that are juniors at Denham High School, and I could not tell you what these kids are playing with these days. How important is this to your wife, this program?
It's important to her. It's something that we've done every year for years together. One of the things that we've been blessed with is since we turned to nonprofit, one of the things you really stress about every year is the thing that you have to have in order to make this work.
Yeah.
And that's money.
Yeah.
You have to have the monetary donations coming in. Yeah. If you don't and you can't collect enough money, you're not going to be able to provide that Christmas. So it's very important that we work as a team. And my job is to make sure I go and visit Mr. Jim Chapman and get out on the news, and whoever else I can get on with is to say, hey, we need these monetary donations. We need these toys. And these businesses just jump on board with this. Maybe it's because of the nonprofit, maybe because they just want to give. I'll get to the point where, whatever it is what it is. We need this to make this program work. Yes. And so and I don't want to miss anybody, so I'm careful who I say, but we have a lot of local restaurants that do, hey, bring a toy and drop it off, we'll give you a discount. Or 10% of my profits on this day, we're going to give toward Christmas Crusade.
Yeah.
So all these Denham Springs restaurants, Walker restaurants, all over the parish do that for us. Yeah. And it's very important. And you collect $1,000 here, $100 here. Maybe you get lucky and getting a couple $1,000 here. That adds up.
It really does.
It adds up a lot. And every year we've been able to do that. And my point I'm getting to is because of the nonprofit, we've been able to actually get even bigger monetary donations, which has allowed us to provide that even better Christmas for these kids.
Oh, absolutely.
And that's the goal. And be able to give beyond that. We have organizations. I always like to mention Mighty Moms.
Yes.
We work close with them. We have a lot of local churches that try to give to people as well. And we want to stay connected and communicate, because if you and your church is taking care of a couple families, our program don't allow you to get taken care of by us.
Yes.
That's double dipping.
Yes.
So let them take care of you. They're going to provide you with a Merry Christmas. Let us put our efforts toward other people.
Yes.
So it's very important that your money goes, and you know that it's watched, and it's cared for, and it's actually accounted for.
Yes.
And you need to know that when you write those checks. And so that's why this program has the backbone that it has, because we do that every single year.
It's the integrity of the program.
You got to have it.
Yeah, you got to have it. And
Right.
and look, people out there that are doing their own little things with, hey, bring me some toys and we'll give them away or whatever. That's a great thing. But when you're a nonprofit, you know where that money's going. You need to be real careful of who you give things to sometimes, because whether they're legit or not, and I'm not a sheriff by any means, but I'm sure you got to watch out for that. And
you do.
People are, some people are just bad people, and they look for opportunity, and so when you give to a 501(c) like your organization, that it's going where it should be going.
That's
and
right.
Guess what? We love to save tax money, and so it's deductible.
Right.
Shout out to TurboTax or whatever. Now, we talked about the process a little bit. So if someone does say, wow, I may qualify for this program, would you go pick up a physical form? Is there an application online? How does that work?
Go to lpso.org. Online, and they'll have the information. You can fill it out, and then you'll have to go to the location, which I'll actually tell you. The location is at Woodside Drive location, which is our training center, which is at 29225 Woodside Drive in Walker, right next to the huge landfill. You can't miss it. So we actually, our applications will start accepting those November the 29th through December the 3rd, and then we'll start again December the 6th through December the 10th. The times that runs is between 8:30 a.m. to 12 p.m. and then again at 1 p.m. to 3:30 p.m. each day. They can get all this information. They fill it out, and it'll actually show. And it says here, like, you have to have proof that you are a Livingston Parish resident. We said this earlier, but I'll repeat it. You also will need to provide birth certificates for each child. You also need a proof of income for everyone living in your home. And that's just so important to have that. And again, the locations that we'll be collecting monetary donation or toys at all three Walmart locations, which you have Walker, Denham, and we have Watson. And then we also have Bass Pro, the location at Bass Pro. So you'll see them starting the Saturday after Thanksgiving. We're there every Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. And those times are 9 a.m. to 7:30 p.m. each day. And look, and I want to remind these, and I don't know if we talked about this or not, but it's really important to me. When you see these deputies out there sitting, they're off. They're off duty. They're doing this on their own. One of the things that I felt like that this program, to help this program grow, although we've always felt attached, me as a deputy, as a sheriff, I know that I have ownership over this program, but I wanted my deputies to feel like they have ownership over this program. And so you see what they do. They do so much for this program. I couldn't do it without them.
You couldn't do it with that. That's right.
Physically not possible.
Yeah.
So tell them thank you.
Yes.
They love that pat on the back. They love to hear thank you. And but they're doing this on their own time, and this is something they look forward to every year. So I just like to make sure people realize that they're not sitting there on your dime. They're sitting there on their own dime.
Yeah, they're volunteering.
That's
just like anybody else. Law enforcement in general does so much for a community, and just what y'all do every day is not like podcasting. You know, you go out there and you really do heroes work. And so that in and of itself deserves a pat on the back. But then to volunteer your time, do those things for your community, that's a huge thing. And yeah, definitely shake their hand, tell them thank you. If you sign up for this program, you can't double dip, I guess would be a word for it, and be on another program. And the reason for that is, I would imagine you've got to be able to spread this to as many people as possible. And so
when you have a program and you take care of these kids, and that you're providing them with a Merry Christmas, there's no need for another organization to have to spend their money on these kids.
Yeah.
And it is called double dipping. I mean, look, we're going to provide the Christmas for your kids. We don't allow, our program does not allow you to go to 3 other places and get toys too. It's not what it's about. It's about getting these kids a Merry Christmas. And we try to focus on that, but we also have to do our due diligence to make sure the program maintains the integrity.
Absolutely.
And watch this very carefully. And we don't have many problems at all, but we have had problems in the past, and we've dealt with those problems.
Yeah.
And so with that, just stay focused on doing the right thing.
That's right.
That's what we need to do.
Very good. And we do want to shout out the Bread of Life Ministries way up in Indiana.
Yes.
Man, I saw that on Facebook. Look, pallets of toys. Tell us about that.
Oh, it was just great. Well, John Snyder's a great friend of mine. He hadn't lived in our parish long, and I introduced him to our Christmas Crusade program. And he actually came out one morning, got up at, I think, 4 a.m. and did a morning show where Channel 2, Channel 9, or one of the news stations came out and actually did a live morning show with our Christmas Crusade. And I think the way I got him there was I told him, hey, John Snyder's going to be here.
Yeah, there you go.
So they came out, he interviewed, and he actually said, you know what, I got some time. I would like to go out and deliver toys. So he did. And so he went out and delivered toys. He loves it, loved the program. And every year, he tries to do what he can to help us out. And this year he reached out to some people and he's brought just a truckload, 18-wheeler truckload full of toys. And he even had some clothes and some other things that we can actually donate to other organizations to get to these kids in our area. Yeah. So it was great to have people like John that has connections all over. I don't know that I've ever had toys come from that far away, but it was very humbling feeling to know that we had this ministry that would send that down here.
That's a beautiful.
And for John and them to take time out of the day, because he and his wife went up there and received this, and that whole trip, and drove it back down here. So that was also very much appreciated.
Yeah, 100%. And my wife had seen that on Facebook, and she said, "Man, those are good toys too." Yeah. She said, "Them Lego sets are like $100 a piece or something."
Oh man, they were huge Lego sets, man. It was from Star Wars to you build your own cabin, and it was crazy.
Yeah, so just a beautiful thing. Thank you to John Schneider for your part in that. And hey, Dukes of Hazzard was my favorite show back in the day.
Whose show was it? You from this area, and that's all you did.
That's it. So fast forward to Toy Distribution Day. Okay. So this is a big deal for the families receiving it, but probably just a big a deal for the deputies themselves, right?
It is. This is the day we look forward to. Leading up to that day, me on a personal level, we have those 2 weeks that we're actually taking donations and we start bagging. I have DARE graduations going on, usually 2 a day.
Yeah.
So 9 o'clock, 1 o'clock, we have to be at all these DARE graduations. We also have parades going on. So this is like the day it ends.
Yeah.
And don't take that the wrong way. It's just that day is a relief. So the deputies see it too. Like, you got all this stuff going on. They are at these parades. Some of them are at these DARE graduations, and they have regular work going on. So it's a lot of overtime going on their own time. And we get to the December the 17th, which is a Friday, we'll be delivering toys. And it's just a sight to see, looking at the pictures and Lori stealing them. They do a great job, my PIO crew, and getting some videos and to show how big it is. But these deputies, it would be almost a mile down the road, these deputies are lined up.
Yes.
Can't wait. They have their kids with them sometimes. They have their spouses with them, and we welcome that on that day because we want it to be a family event.
Yeah.
And they'll line up and they get in vans. Some of them ask, can I just bring my truck and put a sticker to them at the sheriff's office so I can bring more toys? And so it goes on. It starts that morning and at about 7 a.m. and we just start loading these vehicles up, and they just come through assembly line, and we load them up. And they hit these locations, and when a lot of people ask about the families, that's why I like to say the number of families. So if it's over 700 families,
yeah,
that's over 700 locations we have to go to.
Yeah.
Now there's probably a 5% of those are going to be at the same home. We may have like, two families living in one home or neighbors, but 700 locations
Yeah.
throughout our parish that they have to do. And they get that done and usually back for lunch.
Yeah. That's
how
wrap
many-
your mind around that, folks.
That's how many people help. Yeah. So I'll provide lunch, and they're usually there by noon. We have lunch, and then of course we have some cleaning up to do, and it continues on a little bit after that because it just doesn't end that day. But that is the big day that we try to get done, and then you just kind of have a little relief.
I mean, it's a crescendo there of
it really is.
all this build up, and then boom, the day hits, and I'm sure these deputies just absolutely love to go to a door, knock on a door, and say, "Hey, I just got something for you."
Yeah, and look, I know I may have touched on it earlier, but the best ones for me is the deputies that show up during the time we're actually taking applications, and they will actually bring us a name and address of a family. And say, look, I was there. This family, they're in need. These kids are in need. They need clothes. They need food, whatever.
Yeah.
And that same deputy will push through the line to make sure that he has that family.
Yeah.
He will go write
That's
his
awesome,
name
man.
on it. I want to be the one to bring these toys.
Yes.
And so that just means the world to me to know that deputy, not only did he make sure he recognized, but he finished it.
Yeah.
He recognized a problem. He brought the problem. He got a plan, and then he basically puts it in place, and he finishes it.
Yeah.
And so I know that's a build up for them as well. But some of them have no clue what it actually does for me.
Right. Well, I'll tell you, and I've talked to several deputies. I'm good friends with a lot of them, and one in particular, Woody Everton. I told him, I said, man, look, you need to do like a holiday episode where you talk about some kind of experience with Christmas Crusade. I think it'd be a great thing. Of course, he's all for it.
Yeah, I mean, Woody's has been there and done that, and delivered toys, so he knows a lot about the program.
Yeah, absolutely. Folks, I can't vouch for this program enough, and I appreciate you coming on the show. Is there anything else you wanted to mention?
Thank you for having me. Look, you said earlier, look, we do a lot as law enforcement community, but we have to have different people helping us in our community.
Yes.
Your job is important as anybody else's, because without you, I couldn't put this out.
Oh man, thank you for that.
So you got to have these different. We work well with our news outlets or podcast folks, because we have to work together to spread whatever the word is to get things out. And I mean, I rely on Walmart to help us to make sure we're able to order these toys, and other businesses to get these monetary donations. So it's a group effort.
Yeah.
I have never been one to take credit for anything, because I cannot do what I do each and every day without my people. And they my deputies. They work so hard. I can't do things without the community, and I can't do things without people like yourself.
Yeah.
When we got to work together as a team to make sure in the end that our community wins. And that's what we're going to do.
That's right. And we're all a team around here, and we love LP.
That's right.
And everything about it. And so positive things only, for sure. And I can't vouch for the program enough. I've been aware of it a long time. I've given to it. And it is just a beautiful thing that all of you are doing for the community out there with the Sheriff's Department. We appreciate that so much. On a personal note, keep up the great work you're doing.
Thank you.
Rocking it over there. I want to thank everyone out there for viewing and listening to Local Leaders Podcast. Please like, comment, subscribe, do all those things so we can shine a spotlight on small businesses and nonprofits all over Livingston Parish. I want to thank our sponsors, including Tricia Johnston Realtor, William Waldrop of TWFG Insurance, BJ Pawn, Fit Blends, Denham Springs, Black Sheep Creative, SR Enterprise Painting, Adele Lane Spa and Boutique, Fit Body Boot Camp. We could not do any of this, none of this, without all of you. And I want to thank everyone out there that has been pushing our last few episodes. We had Lopa on recently, and that episode has really taken off. 10,000 something downloads already, I believe. And it just keeps on coming. So thank all of y'all for doing that. If you want information on getting on the show, sponsoring the show, reach out to me at jim@localleaderspodcast.com. Until next time, I'm Jim Chapman, reminding you, love your community, support local nonprofits just like Sheriff's Ard's Christmas Crusade, and keep leading. Thank you very much.